art and architecture being moral starts to break down at the end of the century through like a lot of movements, one of which was called aestheticism, which this is complicated. I don't want to get into it, but I think we could get into a fun moment in art, which is the Peacock Room.
Yeah, you mentioned this in passing in the last recording we did, which may come up after this, which is the Ghost Ship episode, about how we don't really have rooms anymore. And that's one of the things that sounds insane, but is 100% true.
Have you ever been in a restaurant? Like, there's just no dividers. There's just nothing.
There's no rooms.
I can just hear people scream in a restaurant.
But not only the sense of like we don't have divided spaces, but you don't have divided spaces with a sense of like intentionality or like holistic like design anymore.
Oh, sure.
When was the last time someone built a room that would be worth transplanting in its entirety into an art museum?
Have you seen my living room? It's a goddamn masterpiece.
Probably like 1880 something.
Yeah. You don't, for instance, have the X room anymore unless it's like the name of a conference room, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a hair salon near my house called and it makes me want to just
immediately dox yourself.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah. Can you bleep that, Devin, please? Thank you.
This may be one of the last rooms to be built when I think about it now. The Peacock Room.
Looks nice.
So, there's a lot of social and cultural change that changes the attitudes around art to be less of a moral thing. But we got to talk about the Peacock Room. So there's this guy, Frederick Richards Leyland.
Mm-hmm.
He owned a bunch of big ships for the transatlantic trade. This is like
what kind of hormones you needed.
This is like it was the Leyland line, I believe it was called. Notably, later went on to build and own a ship called the SS California, the one that didn't help the Titanic.
I knew I was flashing back to a 9-hour Titanic episode.
Yeah. But this is well before that. This is the 1880s. So 1870s, excuse me. Frederick Richards Leyland had a big house. He liked art.
Easier to be a communist in the 1870s when people were building the Peacock Room.
He didn't want the Peacock Room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is taking a turn already.
Yeah. So he liked art. He liked contemporary art in the 1870s. What was all the rage was Japanese art or Anglo-Japanese art, because the Japanese were finally talking to people. And everyone's like, oh, let's get this exotic Japanese crap,
Make the country be open, stop having it be closed. Yeah, of course.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. This weeb stuff started really early.
Oh, jeez.
So he hires Richard Norman Shaw to redo his entire house while he was on vacation. Richard Norman Shaw was an architect. I didn't put anything in notes about him. I don't know anything. Maybe there's something important here.
He does a fucking like changing rooms game show thing where he's just like, I'm going to come back and see it for the first time when it's done.
Yeah, he does extreme home makeover to himself.
Yeah. When you're rich, you can just do this.
Yeah, so he entrusts the architect, Richard Norman Shaw, entrusts Thomas Jekyll, who's a guy who does a lot of Anglo-Japanese art.
He's cool. I'm not sure about his partner, though. He's some kind of doctor.
To do the interiors, right? And then he goes on vacation.
Was the doctor.
Yeah. Jack was the doctor, Mr. No, you should.
You have to bleep that also.
I cannot express enough how much I need to make rent.
So Thomas Jekyll, at great expense, furnishes one of Leyland's dining rooms with this 16th century leather wallpaper that had been painted with Tudor roses, which had originally been part of the dowry of Catherine of Aragon.
Leather wallpaper feels like viscerally wrong to me. That's some like Yellow King shit as far as I'm concerned.
Very, very, very expensive. He paid £1,000 for it.
Wow.
Had a lot of money back then.
Yeah, no kidding. Actually, I can do that in the background while you.
Oh, he died in a lunatic asylum. That's good.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I bet we will.
This room destroys so many people.
One of the things I like about you, since this is a bonus episode, I can do whatever the hell I want, is the sort of gleeful madman thing you occasionally have going on. I love it very dearly.
Yeah.
I love you very dearly. I hate this room so much.
This room is so good, Liam. This is the best room.
£150,000 today.
That's not so bad. That's you know what?
That's deposit for a small house outside of London.
You've got to also consider it was a priceless historical artifact. So Jekyll also had a bunch of cabinetry constructed to display Leyland's china collection.
Oh my god!
The sort of blue and white china that was very expensive today, but also you can get reproductions for nothing now.
Yeah.
The focal point of the room was originally a large painting entitled "The Princess from the Land of Porcelain" by none other than James McNeill Whistler. The centerpiece of the room, which is
shit.
That painting is behind the camera in this shot because it is the least important thing that's about to happen.
Okay. Okay.
This is it's in the next slide, but it's another Anglo-Japanese, painting. It's the weeb stuff. Yeah. Jekyll almost finishes the whole composition. Then he falls ill and he has to stop working on the room. So he entrusts his friend, James McNeill Whistler, with finishing the room. James McNeill Whistler takes a look at the priceless 16th century wallpaper and thinks it contrasts poorly with his painting.
Oh, no.
So he suggests to Jekyll, we could touch up these roses with a bit of yellow, a bit of gold leaf. It's gonna look a little bit better. And people didn't have the same ideas about historic preservation back then that we do now.
Yeah, no
so
kidding.
Jekyll's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And Whistler gets to work. And he starts painting. He starts painting. He starts painting. He has no idea of the real plan or idea of the final product. And in the end, the room was now no longer covered in roses. It was now entirely blue and gold and covered in peacocks.
All right. What a way to be led to madness, man.
So Leyland, the owner of the mansion, returns from his vacation and sees the room. He is completely livid. He hates it. It's the worst thing he's seen in his life.
Yeah, I can see why.
and so he, and keep in mind, Whistler's painted over the expensive wallpaper. He's painted over all of the cabinetry. All this blue and gold is his.
This one weird guy has just arted all over your shit and ruined it.
He arted everywhere. He arted off the walls. He arted on the floor, on the ceiling. So he was livid. He was aghast. He hated it. He cut off the contract with Whistler. And what Whistler did, because the room wasn't finished, is he broke in and finished it.
Can't anyone on this show just be normal?
I really respect this. Actually, this is fantastic. You don't tell me when I'm done with the art. I tell me when I'm done with the art.
So in that process, he finishes this large mural back there of two peacocks fighting, which is Art and Money, or The Story of the Room. That's what it's entitled.
Imagine that the next morning you come down and you find more peacocks have been added.
And just the guys because it's whatever, 18, who gives a shit.
1870, yeah.
And you just guys strung out on enough cocaine to kill Freud. Just like two paintbrushes.
It's like you don't understand my vision.
All right, so Thomas Jekyll finds out about this. He's also shocked and appalled at what's happened. He looks at the room. He's like, what the hell has happened? He goes back to his own studio and he's found on the floor covered in gold leaf. Next to a ladder.
Destroys this guy's psyche.
I've seen Goldfinger,
He goes mad. He just goes completely mad afterwards.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Whistler loses the contract and declared bankruptcy. But he had a sense of humor about it, because when the creditors came to his house to seize his assets to pay back Leyland, he has painted and displayed in the main hall of his house a large picture of Leyland depicted as a horrible peacock man.
This is just, I'm pretty sure this is just the first 25 minutes of BioShock, actually.
This kind of this prolonged campaign of psychological torture.
I love this.
This is, and they say art can only ever like serve capital. No. It can also drive them insane.
Serve beef. It's just serving hot, fresh beef.
Leyland's wife divorced him for Whistler.
So you
Can
see,
you imagine being in court for that?
Interesting argument. However, I have depicted myself as the Chad and you as the horrible Peacock man.
I just spat all over myself, dude.
And this is
We hope this bonus makes it up to you.
one of the original, one of the early, manifestations of the modern concept of art for art's sake, right?
And for psychological warfare, beef's sake.
Yeah. The art worked really good.
Yeah,
it caused a lot of visceral reactions, which is what you want art to do.
Yeah. Art as torture device is pretty funny.
Leyland still, he didn't alter the room. Eventually, he passed away, divorced and miserable.
Are we sure this room isn't cursed?
Oh, it's cursed.
So it was purchased. The room was purchased, lock, stock, and barrel from Leyland's heirs in 1904 by Charles Lang Freer. He installed it in his own mansion in Detroit. Later donated it and the rest of his collection to the Smithsonian Institute. Today, you can visit the room in the basement of the Freer Gallery. So,
what's the curse situation like?
Well, I've been there, and I am the person who I am.
Not concluding anything from this yet. Need to know what happened to Freer first. Maybe once they removed it from the situation, then it was normal. I want to think it's not a cognito hazard.
I'm pretty sure it's only a cognito hazard if you don't like it.
I quite like it. Yeah. Just to say that to insulate myself a bit.
I don't like it, but I find its use as psychological warfare pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do like the sort of I am going to go broke and divorced because I'm just going to keep painting. Nobody can stop me.
I'm going to lose my wife to the painter who I hate.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yes, just magnificent. Again,
Peacock soy jack.
Yeah.
What a terrible phrase.
This is the painting that was supposed to be the focal point of the room. The painting was
me shambling towards the microphone to record this podcast.
Yes. The James McNeill Whistler painted the painting and then redid the entire room around it. This is sort of it's that and the China collection, of course. So this is the state of art in the 1870s, which is it will drive you mad.
You seldom see this now. You seldom get art that drives you insane,
Yeah. There's a certain extent to which people have been insulated to this stuff, probably on account of Live Leak. Anyway, it used to be you could just have a room in your house that would just ruin you.
It's true. I mean, again, though, you don't really have rooms anymore. I was saying this before we started recording, but I remember when I was a kid, I was in St. Petersburg, and I saw the amber room, which is a Tsarist era sort of room made entirely of Baltic amber. All the furniture is inlaid and stuff. And it's a reproduction, and there's a sign outside that's this is sort of a reproduction done at the expense of the German government. We're sorry. And you go, well, why? And the answer is because the Nazis stole a room. Because again, this was just a room was a sort of dismantleable, portable thing, and they put it in boxes as part of the art looting, and then they just lost it. It's probably just been destroyed forever. But maybe some billionaire just has an amber room, like the real one now. I don't know.
Yeah, just somewhere. We'll actually talk about a building that happened to later in this podcast.
Building theft.
And it was but anyway, so this is sort of the breakdown of the connection between art and morality exemplified in one room, which occurred in the late 1800s.